This is the case for Gloria Williams, DOC number 72527, date of birth August 27, 1945, classified as a third felony offender. Offenses: attempted simple escape and murder. Sentenced to a total of 99 years. Parole date August 19, 2021. Good time May 26, 2028. Full term September 23rd, 2078. Is this information correct, Ms. Williams?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Thank you. Ms. Granazzo.
Thank you. Mr. Cretera, did you have a question, sir? Your microphone's on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
The sound is coming through is pretty bad. Is there a way to correct that a little bit? It's kind of muffled and garbage.
It may be a connection on your end because I hear everybody just fine.
Okay, we'll fight it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Ms. Williams' case has been assigned to me this morning, so I'll be the lead on presentation and questions. So good morning, Ms. Williams.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Good. So you and I first met back in July of 2019 at your clemency hearing.
That's correct.
Okay, so let me just go over a couple of details. As was introduced, your sentence, you were resentenced in August of 2021, but you were originally sentenced in November of 1971 to a life sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And you appeared before the Pardon Board in July of 2019, and at that time, you received a unanimous vote to commute your sentence to 99 years and that you be immediately parole eligible. So that's why we're here today. I did review the record once again, and I do see this is the reasons listed as to why you were granted or recommended for commutation of sentence. This is what was on the document. It says the board based its decision on conduct and or other improvement. You had a favorable recommendation by the facility warden, Warden Butte at the time. You had served a substantial portion of your sentence. You had family support. You it says accepts her role in the victim's death, low risk score, age and length of incarceration. You had a good transition plan, good programming, a good disciplinary record, and you performed community service within the prison community, supporting and mentoring other women. So what I wanted to ask you this morning, we were very thorough when we interviewed you for the clemency hearing, so I'm not going to go through all those details again. I know many of you who are present today were also present for that hearing. So let me just ask you, Ms. Williams, has anything changed in your status since your clemency hearing?
No, ma'am, nothing. I don't have any disciplinary reports. I now live in assisted living area because of COVID.
So have you been able to be involved in anything since your last hearing?
No, ma'am, not anything that because of COVID. We're limited to where I live at, and I'm on oxygen.
Okay. And I see that you had submitted and it was approved an interstate compact agreement to live in Texas.
Yes, ma'am, with my son, James Robertson.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I'd like to ask Warden Thomas if there's any input the facility might like to have.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
No, like Ms. Williams said, she is living in our infirmary area just because she does need oxygen sometimes in the evenings. But again, no disciplinary reports or anything on that end that's changed. So she's still doing well and no issues.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have no other questions.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Andrew Hundley.
Andrew Hundley, representing Louisiana Parole Project. informing the board today that Gloria Williams is a client of our program. If this board grants her release, our organization stands ready to provide support to her and her family on her reentry. It is Louisiana Parole Project's position that Gloria, considering that her ICOTS to Texas has already been approved, it is our position and our recommendation to the board that she be immediately released to that address in Texas due to her age and health, while our organization is ready to provide our residential reentry program to her. We feel like it is unnecessary in her case, and we stand ready to provide support to her and her family in Texas, connecting them to resources in Texas. Christy Sheremy on our staff stands ready to be Gloria's reentry specialist and mentor through Zoom and phone calls and long distance support. Based on Gloria's maturity and family support, we have a high degree of confidence in Gloria's ability to have a solid transition to the Texas address. Like to also note that Gloria is Louisiana's only female 10-6 lifer still incarcerated. She's the longest serving female prisoner, but as this board is aware, there are several 10-6 lifers around the state recently that have been provided relief based on reconsideration that at the time that she received her life sentence, the expectation was that 10 years and 6 months would be served. She has now served over 50 years and is age 76. We thank you for your consideration today, and we stand ready to provide any additional information this board may ask of us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from Ms. Mary Moore. You're on speaker. You're on mute.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you now.
My name is Mary Moore. I am a sister of Gloria Dean Williams. Thank you for allowing me to be before you today. I'm here to support my sister in any capacity that I can. We are ready to accept her and embrace her, be there for her for whatever needs that she may have. Gloria has shown us through the years. She was able to lace up her bootstraps and do the work to become a better version of the person that she was. She's mentored her children through the prison walls, never having anything to complain about. She was always uplifting us. We took a lot of her behavior, attitude, discipline, and development to better our lives. Like I said, she's done a marvelous job. All the enrichment programs, the spiritual growth, the personal development, the attitude, the remorse that she's felt, that she expresses throughout the years. There's never time through letters, emails, visits, that she haven't expressed her remorse and said if she was given a second chance, how she would do her life differently. I feel that she is sincere in her remorse. And I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak before you today.
All right, thank you, Mr. James.
Yes, my name is James Robinson. I am her oldest son. I'm very elated to her being released today. I am very happy. I am looking forward to helping her to move forward, grow, and help the family do a lot better than what we've been doing through countless letters, phone calls, and emails. I'm just happy that the day has come that we can all celebrate on a good note. And I thank you all for allowing me to speak today.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll hear from Miss Christine.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay. understand her family wants her. I understand that. We want our grandfather back. We don't get the phone calls. We don't get the letters. This is what we get, a grave. She was given life without parole. She should serve life without parole. We have had to live with this every day of our life, knowing that she took him from us. And I understand she may be doing great, but it doesn't take away the fact that she took someone we love and that we've never had a chance to have him back. What upsets me is that she went for a commutation in July of 2019. We did not know. We would have been there. This man was a wonderful father, grandfather, and we miss him every day. And I feel like she needs to serve her time for taking that from us.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
Thank you so
sorry.
much. That's okay. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you. Mr. Antonio?
Hi, I'm Antonio Catrera Jr. I'm the grandson of the murder victim, Bud Catrera. And I was 9 years old when he was shot and killed. I have siblings who are 11, 7, 5, and 3. The youngest of them never even knew my grandfather. He was the most kind and gentle person, generous to a fault. He sold groceries to people from his store on credit without ever knowing if he'd be paid back or not. Gloria Dean Williams not only took the life of my grandfather, but he also robbed our family of our relationships with him. My father, Antonio Catrera, was never really the same person afterwards. The lives of myself and my siblings have also been deeply affected by our grandfather's murder. My grandfather didn't get to see his grandchildren graduate from high school or college. He wasn't present to see his grandchildren's accomplishments, such as my youngest brother becoming an Eagle Scout and earning his life-saving award. He didn't see the grandchildren's weddings or the birth of his great-grandchildren. When the jury sentenced Gloria Dean Williams to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, they granted her leniency. She could have received the death sentence. By handing down that sentence, the jury expected her to serve life without parole, and justice should be served. She's never really admitted her guilt in the murder of my grandfather, and she's never shown remorse to the Catrera family. Her account of the crime is different than the police record and the trial transcript. She denies really having anything to do with the murder. However, the testimony of Carolyn Ann Hollingsworth, another of the convicted murderers, in her own pardon hearing, stated that Gloria and she wrestled the pistol away from Mr. Catrera, and on the instructions of Gloria Dean Williams, she shot and killed Mr. Catrera. I have one more thing I want to say. This commutation and parole process has been grossly unfair to the Catrera family. We were not notified of the clemency hearing. In fact, afterwards, we heard about the hearing in press reports, and I called the Pardon Parole Board, and I received an email that said that when you and I spoke, there were no victims in Cajun, which is, I assume, the victim database. The Victim Services Department searched for someone to notify and found my Uncle Michael Catrera, who lives 400 miles away. But if we had known that this hearing was to take place, We could have been there and we would have been there to make our voices heard. There could have been a different outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Michael, we'll hear from Mr. Michael now.
Okay. Yes, I'm
We can
here.
hear you. Yeah, we can
Can you hear
hear
me?
you. Go ahead. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
You know, like everybody said, you know, Gloria had a tough life, serving 50 years already in prison. Yes, hers is a sad story. Well, here's another sad story. My dad and my mom worked this grocery store in this neighborhood. They were extremely hard workers, just to provide for the family and also the customers in the neighborhood, which Gloria and her family were one of them. My dad would wake up every morning in order to get the store open at 5:30 or 6 a.m. because many grocery deliveries had to be brought in about that time. Other customers coming in about that time also before going to their work. My dad would work and stay in the store all day long until closing around 7:30 or 8 o'clock that night. Yes, 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night. Not many people can work that way. He did this every day, Monday through Saturday. On Sunday, he would wake up at 4 o'clock, go to 5 o'clock morning mass, come back and open up the store for around 6:30, and continue the store until 12 noon. Every time he would come in and eat just a measly meal like bread and crackers or milk or whatever, go sit down on the chair a little bit and immediately fall asleep. My dad was looking forward to retirement, which was going to be at the end of February, just 2 weeks later, but couldn't never reach that point because he was shot in the middle of February. I was looking forward to his retirement. I never had quality time with my dad. He never took me fishing. Because of his work schedule, we never went on vacations. I got a talent to play music, and in my teenage years, he never heard me play. Like I said, we were looking forward to his retirement. He was looking forward to retirement. That was cut short. Had he retired, I would have been able to spend some time with my dad, take him fishing or vacation, or take him to hear me play music. Again, if she's released, her nightmare is over, but mine will continue forever. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any input from staff there? Did we get any input from the warden? We good? Okay. All right, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Williams? Go ahead.
I cannot change the pain that I've caused the Cotrera family. I wish I could, but I can't. Saying I'm sorry is not enough. I have to live with what I've done. And it's not a day go by that I don't wish that I could go back and do things differently, but I can't. I'm
Right,
sorry for the pain that I caused the family. I'm sorry for the loss that I caused you all and what I deprived you all of. A relationship with your father, your grandfather. I'm so sorry. That's the only thing I can say. I'm sorry. I wish I could go back and change it, but I can't.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Hogan, would you like to make a statement?
Thank you. Just to close out and mention a few things. After Ms. Williams's commutation hearing in 2019, as she stated, she did contract COVID-19, was hospitalized for 3 weeks, and is now in assisted living on oxygen. But even though she's in a position where she can't take classes and be an active member of her community, she still is. As Warden Butte noted in her 2019 hearing, she's a pillar of her community. She still mentors and uplifts the other women that she's incarcerated with. She cooks meals for them. She cooks meals for a member of her tier who is receiving chemotherapy treatment. She mentors and uplifts her family as they have endured 6 personal family deaths in the last 2 years. She has a very low risk of recidivism. She's recently even volunteered to do the laundry for her medical tier. So Ms. Williams is still a pillar of her community, even though her physical health has been severely compromised since her last hearing. She has overwhelming family support, as you can see, and she has a network of people that are not here today, but that are watching. And if she is granted release, she would go straight to Texas, and her family is ready and willing to receive her. So we would ask this board grant her parole with any conditions that it deems appropriate. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Right, is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Renata?
All right, thank you. Before I vote, I just want to offer my sympathies to the Cottrell family. I know the loss of Mr. Budge is painful still today. And I do thank you all for being here and offering your remarks. I know that wasn't easy. Mr. Michael, you're correct. It's a sad situation for all families involved here. I do believe my job today is not to look at the person that did this horrible thing 50 some odd years ago. And I'm to look at the person who's here today and make my best determination whether or not she's likely to have the same kind of conduct. And looking at Ms. Gloria Williams and her record in prison, I don't think she's that same person, and I don't think that she'll ever do anything like that again. She's not been able to express her condolences until today to the family of the victim because she's prohibited by law from doing so. But my vote today, based on her age and length of incarceration and her low risk assessment score, is to grant her parole to the Texas out-of-state plan with the special condition that she have absolutely no contact with any member of the Cottrell family.
Ms. Jackson?
Also to the Cottrell family, I'd like to also tell you, I know it's said that time heals all wounds, but I can see that that isn't necessarily the case. I've only been on this board since last year, the middle of last year. And so I wasn't a part of the original clemency application. And I'm so sorry that you all didn't get the opportunity to voice your feelings at that time. But I can tell you from the short time that I've been on the board that the staff makes every effort to contact victims. And I'm sorry that for whatever reason you all didn't get that opportunity, but I do appreciate hearing from you today. Another thing, I don't know a whole lot about Ms. Williams because the information that was provided for today's hearing was limited because there had already been a clemency application. But what I can tell you is that I know that members of the board take very seriously these matters. And based on the information that they had, they made the recommendation to the governor to commute her sentence and recommend immediate parole eligibility. I also know that the governor's office does a thorough investigation into the case. And they don't always accept the board's recommendation. And so from my perspective, I don't have any information that would cause me to doubt the decision that was made by the board previously or by the governor's office in accepting our recommendation. I know this is probably going to be a very difficult decision for you today, but as Mrs. Renatza said, every case that we hear is bad. All the facts are bad. That's just the nature of this process. And so what we are tasked to do is not to focus on the crime to the exclusion of everything else. That's not to say we don't consider the circumstances of a crime, but it can't be the one deciding factor. And based on what Ms. Williams has demonstrated over her 51 years of incarceration, her age, her low risk score, my vote today is going to be to defer to and concur with the decision of my colleagues. So my vote today would be to grant her parole to the Texas Compact with a condition that she have no contact whatsoever with the Contreras family.
All right, thank you. 2 votes to grant your parole. Again, I'll echo what my colleague said. This is a difficult process. It always is. And my condolences to the family. Thank you for being here, being a part of the process. But based on the information I have, based on the work she's done, my vote would be to grant her parole today to the Interstate Compact, to Texas only, not to return, and to Louisiana, and to have no contact with victim's family. 3 votes to grant, parole's been granted. Thank y'all. We'll adjourn LCIW at 9:02.
Thank you.
How do we unpack this? How do you feel about this? So there's a few things I'll start with. One is, it's interesting that the family missed the commutation hearing, and how Ms. Jackson stated that the board does everything they do to get in touch with the families. That's not the first time I've heard Ms. Jackson have to say that to family members. And we have seen many hearings where family members were not notified. And, it is a tough job that the parole board has. They have thousands of hearings. But what's a little odd to me is that it seems that some of the more big news story type hearings are the ones where the family members aren't notified. And that's where it just starts to seem like a little bit of a coincidence. This is a big case. There's actually a lot of news articles on this that Richard was able to find because she was the oldest serving inmate in Louisiana. And another case that we covered was one of the most controversial cases in Louisiana where the family also wasn't notified. That's the one where my channel was struck and almost shut down because I covered it. So I don't know, just throwing it out there. I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but it is a statistical anomaly to me, I think. Now, a few things with this. Some might argue, should she have even gotten a long sentence, and should she not get released? It's, I think another thing Ms. Jackson said is, it's said that time heals all, but obviously not in this case. And man, 50 years. So what happened in this case was she had herself like a tough life. She was young. I think she had 5 kids by the age of 20. She was married at 14. And then she got hooked on really strong narcotics, but they went into a gas station with her friend who was 16 and someone else. And it says, I've seen one newspaper article where it says she went in with an unloaded gun and a knife. And then I've seen about 7 or 8 other articles where it says she went in with a toy gun that she took from her son. And I think it makes a difference, certainly. But either way, it was either a toy gun or an unloaded gun, but they had a knife also. And the store owner had a weapon, and they ended up using the weapon on him. Now, she took a deal, the 10-6 deal, which we have seen other hearings. They mentioned this in the Parole Project, and it's another major corruption story by Louisiana. But Louisiana was signing deals basically just so they didn't have to go to trial, and it was like hotcakes. So they said, you can go to trial, or you can sign this deal, which means you're going to serve 10 years and 6 months, and then you're going to get paroled. And they just had thousands of inmates signing this 10-6 paperwork. And people were signing it even if they were innocent. We had a case on here where the man came up and said, I am innocent, and I totally believe his story. But he signed the 10-6 because he was a young 19-year-old guy actually in the Navy who just happened to be driving through Louisiana when he was pulled over, accused of something which he claims he didn't do, a horrible assault on a woman. And he said he signed the deal because he was alone. He didn't. What chance did he stand in Louisiana in the 60s? And then they revoked his 10-6, and he had life in prison. So this is the same with her. They threw out that deal. They said, we signed the contract with you. We promised you 10 years, 6 months, but we changed our mind. And then everyone who signed it have to serve life. And that's why now lifers who signed 10-6, they found that what Louisiana did was unconstitutional, and they were given parole hearings. Now, what's interesting about her is that Gloria, was a fighter. She was not just going to give up. When they ripped up her contract, she escaped prison. She escaped prison 3 times and successfully escaped, actually making it all the way to Texas before being caught. And that could have been why they didn't release her later on. They did release her co-defendants 20, 30 years ago, but they probably didn't like her very much because of but let's go into out of my ad lib and into some of the documents. So Louisiana woman sentenced to life for attempted robbery grocery store with toy gun seeks mercy. So this is a little bit older. This is written in 2020, and this hearing we saw is in 2022. Early 2022, just January 2022. Gloria turned 74 this month. She was nearly 50 birthdays behind bars and is the longest serving female. And you know that they've been in prison a long time when their DOC number is 5 digits instead of 6. We've seen just a few with 5 digits. But on July 22nd, Louisiana Board of Pardons and Parole gave her a favorable recommendation and commutation, which would shorten her life without parole sentence. Okay. Then they go in through data. Nearly 2.3 million are incarcerated in the U.S. Clemency is a total, blah, blah, blah. By 1971, Gloria Williams was she was 25 years old. Okay. Thought she was... She was 25 years old, remarried mother of 5 living in Houston. She's 25 and her co-defendant was 16. It's not a good look. She had married the first time a decade earlier at the age of 14. After she and her husband separated, he took custody of their 2 eldest children and placed them in the care of his father and stepmother. With a 5th grade education and little money, she struggled to fight her custody case. Following an attorney's advice, she married the man she was dating, W.C. Williams, in order to present a more stable family appearance to the courts. But instead of getting custody of her children, she says, W.C. Williams injected her with the magic dragon and physically abused her, including shooting her in the hand and pointing a gun at her children. Wow. When Williams attempted to leave him, she was kidnapped and beaten by a man she did not know, but she believed acted on her husband's orders. Williams says the terror did not stop. Even after her husband was arrested and imprisoned for armed robbery in 1970, she says that through a friend, he told her to find money for an attorney to represent him in case, and warned that if she did not follow the orders, there would be consequences. In February 1971, Williams drove to Louisiana with 2 other people. They spent the night. Oh, so that's her reason for robbing it, is to get her husband, who abused her, an attorney because she was afraid of him. Take it for what you will. They spent the night in Opelousas, a South Louisiana town of approximately 16,000 people, where Williams had previously lived. They decided to rob a grocery store using Williams' son's toy gun. But after they entered the store, their plans went awry. The store owner's Budge was armed. After a struggle, Williams' 16-year-old co-defendant shot and killed with his own gun. So it was, she didn't pull the trigger. And the person who pulled the trigger got out before, but also she was 16. But the 3 were arrested and 9 months later sentenced. It says life without parole, but that's not true. They were sentenced. They were given a 10-6 deal. During her first 3 years at Louisiana Correctional Institute, Williams refused to accept that she would spend the rest of her life in prison and made 3 escape attempts in 1973. Williams made it to Houston, where she was arrested for armed robbery. Okay, that's how she was recaught. Can you imagine? Williams was then sentenced to 8 years in Texas prison when she obtained her GED and cosmetology license. You can get a cosmetology license in prison. Wow. In 1982, she was returned to LCIW, where she continued to serve her life without parole sentence. In 1985, she attempted to escape from LCIW a 4th time, but was apprehended and then placed in solitary confinement for the next 10 years. The use of long-term solitary confinement in Louisiana was widespread in the 1970s and 80s. Albert Woodfox, Black Panther, endured a 43-year stretch of solitary. We did a parole hearing on a man who kidnapped the warden, then lost his arm after the warden shot him, and they put him in solitary for what? I can't remember now, but was it 30 years or something? That is insane to do that to someone, is, in my opinion, absolutely inhumane. In 1995, one of the prison deputy wardens advocated for her release from solitary. Williams was then returned to the general population, where she became involved in the prison ministry and Big Sisters, a mentoring program pairing newcomers with prison women who are veterans of the system. She also has a longtime member of the prison's drama club. So, it seemed that she turned herself around. She had a nickname. What did they call her? They called her Glow. It was, here it is, Moria, Mama Glow. Longest serving woman, mother to be released from prison after 50 years. It's interesting. I've always said, if the family objects to to someone's release, then you just shouldn't let them go, because it's re-victimizing them. But I think this is an exception. It's 50 years, and from what I've read of the crime, it's 50 years. I don't understand why she would have to spend more time in prison when you have people who are getting out less than 20 years, less than 25 years, who have done so much worse, have a high chance of recidivism. Families object. If you're going to let anyone out, it's this person. That's my opinion. With that, I'll let you go.
The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is January 18, 2022. The time is 8:34 a.m. Members of the panel today are Earl Wise, Jim Wise, and Brendan Kelsey, who'll be chairing. Our remote location is at LTCW. Would the staff at LTCW please introduce themselves? Would the staff at LTCW introduce themselves?
Dusti F. Staff. Oh, that's what you said. I just told you. My name is Phyllis Jones. I'm program coordinator.
Latanya Chase, living and balance facilitator.
Kay Kaiser, risk management facilitator.
Thank you. Ms. Fontenot, can you give me your full name and DOC number for the record?
Dusti Fontenot, 700218.
Thank you. Let me explain the process to you. First, I will read information into the record, then the board will conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we will allow the participants who have indicated to speak to have their input. We have 4 who are here in support and all at the same location. We have Ms. Gloria Guidry, grandmother, who will be speaking. Mr. Ricky Guidry, grandfather, who will be speaking. Ms. Tina Thompson, mother, who will be speaking. And we have Ms. Bianca Okwan, sister, who will not be speaking. At the end, Ms. Fontenot, you'll be allowed to make a brief statement before the board votes. Do you understand the process?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is the case for Dusti Fontenot, DOC number 700218, date of birth June 3rd, 1993, classified as a first felony offender. Office, carnal knowledge of a juvenile, sentencing date June 22nd, 2015, sentenced to a total of 4 years. Parole date April 16, 2022, good time, not eligible, full term, April 16, 2023. Is this information correct, Ms. Fontenot?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Wise?
Hey, you're on mute. Jim, you're on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. Waiting on Jim, still on mute.
Can you hear now?
You're on the mute, Jim. You were on mute, off of mute earlier. You're on it still.
On mute. Okay.
Bladen's iPad, can you please stay muted until it is your turn to speak?
All right, Jim, you got it now. All right, Jim, go
All right.
ahead.
What it is, I can't get my laptop up right now. Go ahead, Pearl, you go first. And I'm trying to get it to come back up. I cut it off, get it to come back up. That's why.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Good morning, how are you?
Good, and you?
All right, that gold looks good on you. I don't already see that. I've been when I read your material, you've done some really awesome things since you've been locked up. Called out for the record the programs you've taken. Just put them on the record.
I've taken risk management. I've completed phase 1, 2, and 3 of the sex offender treatment. MRT, I'm trying to think, money management, anger management, living in balance, domestic violence.
Did you get your?
Oh, and my GED.
Right. Hey, that's right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And how long you been down?
It'll be 3 years in April.
So you've been busy these 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Now your offense is very disturbing. Have you had a chance to reflect? Do you recall any of this?
I have.
Take your time.
I have.
Good. Because the judge gave you an opportunity on probation.
Yes, ma'am.
With all this, and you didn't. And I do want to go ahead and state on the record that you do have law enforcement opposition, and that's their rationale. You were given probation, you're given an opportunity to get drug treatment, and you didn't. So what's going to be different this time?
Well, I've bettered myself in here.
Okay.
I've come a long way.
Yes, but you have come a long ways. You really have. What is your plan to stay clean and sober?
I have a really good support system.
Okay.
And I
Do
just
you
want
have?
to go home and be with my family.
But you and I both know that is not going to keep you clean and sober. So what is your?
I want to do like a outpatient program.
Okay. And what else? What do you mean outpatient? Well, what does that look like?
Well, I'm like AA classes, and I have to do a treatment program on the outside for my charge too. So that'll help me with that. And then maybe like outpatient rehab.
Okay. You got to do a treatment program for what? For what charge?
For the sex charge.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that sex offender treatment would kind of have you in a treatment mode. That's what you're thinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but okay. Because I read somewhere that you were using meth at age 13. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your first drug?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember who introduced you to that at age 13?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm glad you don't want to put it on the record. There's also some discussions in your case file about your mental health, but it also states that you're very compliant now with your medication. You hadn't experienced any hallucinations in a while. That continues to be correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So now do you accept the fact that you do have a mental illness?
Yes, ma'am.
So what's your plan for your mental illness?
I want to go to a mental health program out there.
Okay. Have you found the program?
We have a mental health where I'm from.
Okay. Where you gonna go if you're successful today?
To my grandparents' house.
Where do they live?
They live in Lake Charles area. Salford.
Okay, that's what I was trying to put on the record, where you plan on living. Okay. And again, you did real bad on supervision. You kept using drugs. So so tell me why I should vote to let you out early.
Because I've humbled myself. And I'm really trying to become a person that I didn't think I could be.
And I really wanted to hear something like, I'm going to report, I'm going to be available.
I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, that you're going to do what you're supposed to do this time. So you said you've done 3 phases of the sex offender treatment. How much longer you got in that?
It'd be. There's. I'm in the last phase.
Yeah.
So it's what, 3 months? A little less than 3 months.
Yeah, because I seemed like I read it was 6/24/2022 was your end date for the sex offender treatment program.
Yes,
For
ma'am.
okay, for the
With the
SSO.
correspondence, I was able to do it faster, and Dr. Hanser's been doing the one-on-one with me.
Okay. And let me put this on the record as well. In terms of risk, you're at moderate. We have a low, moderate, and high risk. Risk for reoffending, risk for getting back in trouble, yours at moderate. In terms of needs, you got high needs for its mental health, substance abuse, and antisocial thinking. So those are going to be things that you really, really, really gonna have to dig in on.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, for the rest of your life. But I'm glad they found a medication that seems to be really, you like the medication that you're on now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You feel comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's very important to getting the right doses and getting that settled up. So I'm glad to hear that. All right, staff there, what y'all want to tell us about this young lady? Staff?
My name is Phyllis, Ms. Pearl,
Yes, ma'am.
and I taught Dusty. Dusty was in my MIT class
Mm-hmm.
and did exceptionally well. I will tell you that the majority of the classes that she is in, they were not required. She requested and gave 100% in each and every class that she attended. Including at the GED, we kind of celebrated behind that one.
Yeah.
She just wasn't sure of herself on that one, but yeah, she did extremely well. We're proud of her.
Yes. And she had no write-ups or no incidents?
None.
None. All right. In a whole 3 years. All right, thank you. Chairman, that's what I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wise, you have anything you would like to say? You have to get your computer straight?
Yeah, I got it all straight there, Mr. Chairman, and I don't have any questions.
Great. All right. Now we'll hear from Ms. Guidry. Go ahead, Ms. Guidry, make your statement. Take the mute off and make your statement. You're on mute. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Go ahead and make your brief statement.
Okay. I think Dusty should be allowed to come home because she's done so well. And every time I talk to her, she just seems to be getting better and better. She's been a great child before she got into all this trouble. And I just feel like she needs to come home so she can continue with her life.
All right. Thank you so much. And now we're here from Mr. Guidry.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? I would like for her to come home too, because I think she's done real good. I think she's gonna turn out to be a good kid.
All right.
And,
thank you so much. Now we're here from Ms. Thompson.
Okay, here.
She learned her lesson. And I think she needs to come home. And I think she'll be doing great when she gets home.
All right. Thank you so much for your comments. All right, Dusty, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
I just want to say thank y'all for giving me this opportunity.
All right.
I
Take your time.
really come a long way in my own opinion, because I didn't think that I would complete a GED and be able to do anything that I've come this far to do. I didn't have no willpower out there, and this has opened my eyes to a lot. And I look really forward to going home and proven to everyone that I can do it.
All right. All right, thank you so much for your comments. Panel prepared to vote? Would you like to vote, Ms. Wise, would you like to vote first?
Okay, all right, Dusty, and I forgot, I failed to put on the record that your victim was contacted by probation and parole and is unopposed to your early release. Unopposed. Dusty, I feel inclined to take a chance on you because of the family support, the positive programs you've done, and the institutional comments. But after you complete the sex offender treatment program, they said June of 2022. So my vote is to grant after you have finished that sex offender treatment class before you get out, and add for special conditions, random drug screens by probation and parole. You need to continue with your mental health and substance abuse treatment. I don't know what that looks like, but you need to be engaged in something, like you said, outpatient something. Because of your poor supervision history, report weekly to probation parole for the first 4 weeks. They're doing something different now. They're doing something over telephone, but I want you to stay in contact with your officer, and then you will discover that the officer is really on your team. And I would like for you to do 90 NA meetings in 90 days. And again, those are done on Zoom. They'll go, you really need to get acclimated into a NAAA community. Those are your new best friends. And then after that, NA means at least 3 times a week.
Yes.
Best wishes to you, Spell. That's my vote. That's only my vote.
All right, Mr. Wise.
Yes, at this time, I'm gonna vote to deny. I'm gonna vote to deny until after you get the all the phases of your sex offender treatment, then you can write back. Thank you.
All right, you have one vote to
You got
grant.
strong law enforcement, and then DA and law enforcement opposition against your release also.
One vote to grant, one vote to deny. Also, I would have voted to grant your parole after you complete the sex offender treatment in June, and then be released in June with the same stipulations as stated. But you have a GED, you've taken pre-release, but you have a moderate tiger. Does that put us in a non-release staff? So 2 votes to grant, 1 vote to deny. Today, your parole's been denied. Keep working hard. Good luck to you. You'll be out shortly. It's 8:51 a.m. We'll adjourn LTCW.
I do my best to avoid hearings that have Miss Wise and Jim Wise. Then you add Brennan Kelsey to the mix, and it's like, they're just disaster hearings, and you've seen exactly here why. I don't even think Jim Wise was paying attention. He says because you don't have the treatment, you can't get paroled, but they said that she'll get paroled on condition of completing whatever. Here's the news that I have to share with you. I don't have any information on the crime. Of course, Miss Wise isn't going to ask anything. You can't expect that much of her, or any of these board members for that matter. We don't know any details on it, but what I do know is that apparently they said it was very bad. And when they say it was very bad, it usually means it was very bad. But of course, the DA gave her just a suspended sentence, probation, which she violated pretty quickly and then got locked up. Again, we don't know what it is that she did, how young the person was, etc., etc. What she did end up getting out. So this hearing took place on 1/18/2022, and as Richard pointed out, she was released eventually. She got out about a year later, and I think it was March of 2023. So, and she passed away less than 3 months after getting out. So, I have her obituary. She passed away at 30 years old, and it doesn't say how. And I want they have posted of her a YouTube video. I'm not going to play it for you, but it goes from kind of when she was born up until recently, and it was quite tragic seeing her as a baby and growing up. And they had a lot of pictures that they had in the video, and it brings another aspect to it that I haven't ever really taken a look at. But she looked like just like any little girl, and it just brings like I know that's obviously, but it's just I know she didn't poof out of the sky and show up here, but it is one thing to see that, and makes it. But I don't have any other opinion to share or information, and I do try to just avoid these board members when they're all together, because it just become it's kind of the hearings are kind of ridiculous. But we'll move to the next one.
Classified as a second felony offender. Offenses: aggravated rape, attempted, armed robbery, habitual offender law, armed robbery. Sentencing dates are February 7th, 1994 and March 1st, 1994. Sentenced to a total of 50 years. Parole date August 1st, 2021. Good time, not eligible. Full term February 20th, 2042. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
Good morning, Mr. Hansberry. How are you?
Good morning. I'm okay.
My name is Bonnie Jackson. I have been assigned your case. I've reviewed your file, and I'll be leading the questions. So I just want to find out a little bit about you. How old are you, Mr. Hansberry?
50 years old.
50?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time have you actually served on this sentence?
30 years.
Okay.
February the 19th, I'll be 30 years.
All right. And so you were 20
Yes, ma'am.
when this happened? Tell us about let's start with the attempted rape and the armed robbery. Tell us what happened in that case.
Well, ma'am, I'm not guilty on this charge. That's first of all. Because this charge, they have a lot of loopholes in there. At first, I had a hung jury because of the people were saying one thing. They said I was yelling at them and this and that with a gun. Then when they found I had gold in my mouth, that I had a mistrial. Then they come back and they see other statements and all this here. It just wasn't adding up. I never been to the hospital. The victim's never been to the hospital. So it's like I never had no DNA or none of this here. I was at a nightclub when they pulled me out. The victim, one of the person said I was the person that let me back in the club. Later on that night, they pulled me back out the club again. The victim with the police officer put me in the back of the police car. Then they later they called another person who was supposed to be the victim to come down to the club, saying that they had me in the back of the car. These people came to the club and said, open the back door, pointed the flashlight in my face, and then
let me ask you this, Mr. Hansberry. What did they say that you did?
They said that I supposed to have been raped them and kidnapped them and took their jewelry. They shook down my
You say they, are you talking about two separate incidences or two people in the same incident?
Two people in the same incident. There's only supposed to have been happened to one person. And they want to know why this other person didn't call the police. You see what I'm saying, ma'am? They never called the police till like 2 days later. Then when they did call the police and they told the police what happened, the police officer, he must told them. I think y'all need to get y'all story straight if y'all want to file a report. And like a week later, they filed a report.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we don't have any of the police reports or the information surrounding the allegations in this case.
And with all due respect, I know that I'm innocent. And I mean, I can even send y'all my transcripts and let y'all go over this here.
Well, we don't have that today, okay? So
Yes, ma'am.
they tried to get records from the courts and they were unable to do so. So let's just talk about you going forward. In the time, over the course of your incarceration, you have had 92 write-ups. Is that correct?
I can imagine so, ma'am, because I was young, I was ignorant at the time, but now you see I'm a better person.
Well, I don't know whether you're a better person or not. We'll get there. But I just want to talk to you a little bit about your write-ups. 92 is a lot. Would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the last one that you had?
If I'm not mistaken, 2020.
And you actually had 3. And as I was looking at the record, you had 3 in 2020. You had one in February, on February 24th of 20. That was for aggravated fighting. Do you remember that? And can you
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
us what happened?
Well, I've been boxing for the last 16 years. I've been a trainer for 4 years. This incident right here, a dude pulled out a blade on me, which is a knife. I could defend myself, but at the same token, he pulled out a knife on me. So I ain't have no choice but to grab a mop wringer, a toilet wringer, and I hit him with it. I was defending myself, man.
Okay, and how badly was he injured?
I mean, it wasn't no injury that he had to go get stitches or nothing like that, though. I mean, he hit me with the knife. I ain't must go get no stitches.
So it was aggravated because you used
a toilet brush, yes, ma'am.
You said a mop wringer. That's different.
I meant to say a toilet brush. It was a toilet brush.
Like one of the little plastic toilet brushes?
I mean, a toilet brush, they don't have no plastic toilet brush. They have everything here have to be like plastic. It can't
That's
be
what I said, a little plastic toilet brush?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would count as aggravated?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Also, in October, you had a violation of 30C. That was October of 20. What was that about?
I was dealing with grits. I was running back. I was dealing with grits. I was a cook in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And I'm running from back and forth for the bakery area, the bakery area to the cook area. And when I go to the bakery area to check on the bread, I put too much water in the grits. I mean, it wasn't no really aggravated work offense because I never refused to work. That was on me. I just made a mistake with the grits, man.
So you got written up for being a bad cook? I'm trying to understand how that would result in a write-up.
I got written up from having too much water in the grits. But my job assignment is written.
And was that there at Allen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Warden, can you tell us about that 30C in October of 2020?
It's very similar to what he was stating, but I think the issue is that the offender had been instructed how to cook, what was required, and he made decisions to unfortunately do it a different way as instructed. That would result in aggravated work offense.
Okay, well, all right, and then finally in November, on November 16th, You were written up for an aggravated work offense. What was that about, Mr. Hansberry?
That's basically the same thing. They just dropped the 30C down to a work offense.
Okay, Warren, tell me about November 16th.
Yes, ma'am. That is the work offense. The 30C that you're referring to, that was an incident where he was actually sending emails to another offender's family member and basically trying to, if I'm reading it correctly, trying to get things from that family member and trying to engage in a non-professional relationship with a family member of another offender's family member.
You want to tell us about that incident, Mr. Hansberry?
Once again, I'll be on the page like trying to help people, meaning trying to stop persons from doing violations of the institution. And this person that I was cool with was doing a violation of the institution. And by he getting locked up, I wrote his mother, asking his mother to stop sending money to these other offenders. And that's what I got rolled up about.
All right, well, tell me some of the programs that you've taken, because I only saw 2. I saw Inside Out Dads and a substance abuse clinic in 2001.
I learned from the substance abuse, even
No. I want to know, are those the only 2 programs you've taken?
No, ma'am.
What else have you taken?
I took substance abuse, inside and outside dads, anger management.
When did you take anger management?
When I was in Angola, this was in between, I say 1995 and 2005. Now, why my certificates never came over here, I don't know, ma'am.
Okay.
But I've been on the positive level.
Okay, how long have you been at Allen?
Since 2018.
So while at Allen, what programs have you taken?
I came here being the head trainer of the boxing team. That was, they sent me over here to start a boxing team over here because Allen never had a boxing team.
But what programs have you taken while you were there?
I was sentenced to 50 years. I tried to get in programs, but due to the fact that by me having the time, 50 years, the only thing they could do is put me on backlog. Because if you have 40 years, you automatically, if you have 30 years, you automatically gonna get in the class before me.
Okay. And I don't see that you ever were put in any kind of sex offender treatment either. Is that correct?
Well, I was in the sex offenders program.
When?
I graduated, when I was in Angola, I completed phase 1, phase 2, and when I got in phase 3, I wound up getting locked up for something. It's been so long, I forgot. And once again, since I've been at Allen Correctional Center, I don't apply to being there. But due to the fact of my time, I have 50 years. I gotta be on backlog.
All right. Warren, do you all offer risk management, sex offender?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's awful.
All right, and what needs to be done to get him in that program, because he does have a rape conviction?
He can request, Ms. Jackson, and mental health department, they handle the backlog for the sex offender class. So he can request it and she will put him in, and yes, time is prioritized, how much time they have left.
All right. So tell me, Mr. Hansberry, back when this crime happened, what were you doing with your life?
I was working at Pizza Hut. I was working, I had my own apartment. I was doing good.
Were you using drugs?
No, ma'am. I don't mess with drugs. No, ma'am. Never. I know I must smoke cigarettes, I don't drink, period.
Okay. And you have children?
No, ma'am.
But why'd you take inside out dads?
I mean, same reason I took substance abuse. I never messed it with drugs. I never sold drugs. I never used drugs. I take that back. I have sold drugs. I never used drugs. And I learned a lot of taking substance abuse because it's people like myself that sell drugs. I'm hurting somebody's mother, father, or their sister, their brother.
Okay.
So I learned that there by me selling drugs. In the same way, far as me going out there in society, I want to be able to help the younger people not to do the things that I have done. To stop them. Or try to stop.
Okay. Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. Hansberry overall since he's been in Allen?
As he stated, he's been active, or he was active in the boxing team. Was probably one of his primary things. You know, as you indicated, he has had some disciplinary since being here. I think he's had 7 while being here at the facility.
He's been there since 2018?
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, he came here in January of 2018.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have. Do any of the other panel members have a question? If not, Teresa, would you introduce our speakers?
First, we will hear from Miss Liza Harris, sister.
Go ahead, Ms. Harris.
Hi, my name is Lisa Harris, and Eugene Jr. is my brother, who over the past 30 years, I feel like he, in my opinion, has grown mentally and spiritually. With God's grace and mercy, I feel that Eugene will have a positive contribution to society as he worked to reconnect with his family. Our parents are deceased now, and my husband, my kids, and all our family on my mom's side and my dad's side are supportive and are committed to seeing him flourish and succeed in society. My husband and I have offered him a home to stay in, and will help him get a job, apply for jobs with the different, I guess, bakeries, and because he had that culinary experience at Allen Correctional Center, he can be a pastry chef, a prep cook, or whatever we can apply for, and help him further his education to be successful. Again, with God first, we're gonna do everything that we can to put him in a better position in society.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Who's next, Ms. Teresa?
Next, we have Miss Pierce, who's a niece.
Good morning. My name is Sonara Pierce. I am Mr. Hansberry's niece, and I'm here to support. I've known my uncle my whole life, and I've seen him throughout the years as he developed and grow and learn all that he can. He's a man of God, and I hope and pray that y'all grant his parole. Things have changed over the years, and I just know that he's a better person from all the educational programs that he was in. I know he haven't taken any at Allen recently, but I remember at Angola, he was in a whole bunch of different things. And he was also in the Christian ministry. I remember when he used to pray with different people and go to church. And that says a lot about a person when they're trying to change their life. you believe in God and you know things would change, and he's working on being a better person mentally. He took the anger management classes, like you said. And you know, we'll be here for him when he get out, as far as looking for a job or anything, or having connections in the city. If he needs somewhere to go, I have a car, we could bring him to make sure he's there. And I just hope that you grant him this wish of parole today.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Next, we have Mr. J.C. Goins Sr., who's an uncle.
Mr. Goins, unmute your mic so we can hear you. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is J.C. Goins Sr. I come today speaking in support of the release of my nephew, Eugene H. Jr. Eugene acknowledges his mistakes and is very remorseful of his past crime. Since being incarcerated, he has lost many loved ones, to include a father, his mother, his grandparents. In spite of all of his loss, Eugene has remained positive. He has a strong, stable network of people waiting to help him when he is released. He has family members who very much need him to be with them, which includes a sister, a brother, a niece, nephew, aunts, uncles, cousin, and many friends and acquaintances. He's had many years to reflect on his past mistakes, and as I said, is remorseful for his past action. He is not a threat to society. He's remorseful for his prior action. He's now setting hour and costing taxpayers when he has served his debt to society. He wants to come home to be able to support his family and give back to society. I humbly ask you today that you would consider this request. Thank you, and may God add a blessing unto you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Goins, for your remarks. Mr. Hansberry, is there anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
Ma'am, I promise you, the board members, myself, family members, I won't let you down. I promise. As far as the charge I'm on, it wasn't me. It wasn't. I don't know if it happened. I don't know if it didn't happen. It wasn't me. I'm just ready to go home and spend time with my family and work. I just want to work, support myself, family members, and continue to do what I'm doing, putting God first in my life. I just want to get things right with the people out there in the world, the youngsters. I have jobs, FedEx, to save my money, and to come up with my own gym to help the youth, to help the younger people in this world. I appreciate y'all for passing the laws that came into effect last year for helping people like myself. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hansberry. We appreciate hearing from you. Is the panel ready to vote? All right. Mr. Hansberry, your case was assigned to me, so I'll vote first. I will tell you that your disciplinary record is of concern. That's a lot of write-ups. And particularly, some of them are fairly recent in 2020. We don't have any offense reports or any victim statements about the crime that you're serving time on. So I can't say that I know with any certainty what happened in your case, and you certainly do have the right to assert your innocence, and I'm certainly not going to hold that against you because I don't know what happened. I have nothing to contradict your assertion. But you were convicted of a sex offense. And I think that you need to complete all 4 phases of the sex offender treatment program. You have a low risk. You've served 30 years. You've got a good family support system. So my vote today would be a grant of parole conditioned on your completion of all 4 phases of the risk management sex offender program, and that you have no disciplinary write-ups during that time. That's my vote. I'm only one vote, Mr. Hansberry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Jim Wise, are you ready to vote?
Yes, ma'am. I've been both ways on this. I look back at your disciplinary write-up there, and I see that you had 10 write-ups of fighting. 3 of those, which was aggravated fights. I see you had over 15 aggravated disobediences during your time. Now, all of this is scattered out a long time because you had a total of 92 write-ups. Back in 20, you had a bunch. You have family support here and your age, and you've been down a while. I'm going to go along with Ms. Jackson on this and vote to grant after you complete all 4 phases of sex offender treatment. At any time you get a write-up during this time, I want them to deny you. If they remove you out of that class, they're going to bring you back before the board anyway.
Thank you, sir.
But today I'm going to vote the same as Ms. Bonnie Jackson.
Ms. Pearl Wise?
Mr. Hansberry, I've been listening as well. I've just been listening, and I think we get to a point where it's just enough already. You know, I really admire your courage to state, what you stated about the crime and all that happened. I'm just hopeful as well. I'm inclined to take a chance on you. So my vote is to grant after you complete that program. And I would like for you to perform community service. You said you want to at least 4 hours a month, do something in the community, mow somebody's yard, do something in the community. And 1 month you might do 8 hours, and 1 month you do nothing. But stay engaged in performing some community service in the community I think you got about 20 more years on supervision. 4 hours a month community service. You got some ideas on that? Of community service, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. That is my vote. Best wishes to you, sir. Don't let us down. Don't let yourself down. Don't let your family down. And you speak up. If you need help, you ask for it. Nobody's gonna know if you don't tell them. Best wishes to you.
All right, Mr. Hansberry, you have 3 votes to grant conditioned on completion of all 4 phases of sex offender treatment. And I'm sure that the prison staff will move you up the list because of that being a condition of your parole. but also you're not to get any other disciplinary write-ups.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Mr.
Thank you all.
All right.
I choose to believe him. We have seen, and we have a playlist, wrongfully convicted ? And I'll put that there. There are very few. I think we only have 6 in that playlist because it's very rare to have someone come up for parole and state they're innocent all these years later, because we can sometimes have people that state it after a few years. They state it because it's convicted of a horrible crime and their family's watching and they know that they're going to get out anyways in a few years. So it's like safe to assume that they're saying they didn't do it because that's what they've been telling their family. He's been locked up for 30 years. Now, it's his first chance of parole. It's possible that he doesn't know that you're not supposed to go into a parole hearing denying it, but I think it's more likely that he does know that. And the way that he said it, the way that he started it, and the way that he stuck to it, and the way that the board responded to it as well, I think they kind of believe him as well. Although, how can you believe him and still insist he takes those programs? But maybe they're, that's part of what they have to do. Sorry about the dryer in the background. I think there's like slippers in there. It's making an extra loud noise. I choose to believe that it's true. I do. He was 20 years old. He's been locked up for 30 years. They had the hung jury. I don't have any documentation either. Richard couldn't find anything. It's like a black hole. And we have seen, he said he has the transcripts, that he would like to send it, and the parole board said they don't have it. And it would have been nice if maybe they said, let me send it. But also it's like, where's the Innocence Project? Why aren't they involved? I don't know, but I choose to believe him. You keep in mind that it just does seem, well, I guess you just have to take a leap of faith, and I choose to believe him. Now, what didn't help him certainly were all those write-ups, having write-ups in 2020. This hearing took place February 2022, so that was like, it's been 2 years before he had a write-up. But I think the program can take a little more than a year to complete, give or take, to do all 4 phases. So we might, I think it was, well, he was granted on condition, so we may not see him again. I think that as long as he completes it and nothing happens, he'll get out. But I'm rooting for him. I'm choosing to root for him in this case. Now, let's see what the offense was for the 30A, which is what he got. And the 30A, this is like the Angola handbook, but they all use it. It could be prohibited behaviors, following behaviors which may impair or threaten the security, stability, unit well-being of an employee, visitor, guest, offender, family, and prohibited. So, I mean, it does, the way that he described it, he was protecting himself. Now, he said that he was a boxer, right? So maybe he used his fist and he used the toilet thing. I don't know. And then it seems that he wanted to make the food differently. It's just like, and just, if I was locked up for a crime I didn't commit, I'd probably have a million write-ups too. But hopefully we don't hear from him again. Hopefully we don't. Imagine spending, just think about this. If he really didn't commit the crime, imagine spending 30 years in prison from the age of 20 to 50 for a crime that you did not commit. And the way he broke down at the end too, and you got to think he might have been holding in those tears for a long time out here in prison. You can't show weakness. You can't cry, only alone. And I felt like that might have been years and years and years of pent up emotions that just came pouring out. Those look like tears of an innocent person to me more than anything else. But again, I'm choosing to think that with that,